In today's video, we're talking about how China's electric vehicle industry is shaking up the global car market, and, more specifically, how it's putting Japan's long-dominant automakers on the defensive. We'll explore how Japanese car makers rose to power in the 70s and 80s, why they've started losing momentum, and what China has done to leap ahead in the EV space. As always, all the sources used in this video are linked in the description below, so be sure to check them out for more details. Before we jump into the story, if you enjoy content about the global auto industry, technology trends, and the fascinating ways different markets compete, consider hitting that like button. It really helps the channel and keeps us inspired to bring you more videos. Now, let's dive right in. For decades, Japan was a force to be reckoned with in the automotive world. If you picture the streets of many cities in the 70s and 80s, you'd likely see a wave of Japanese brands. Everything from small, fuel-efficient runabouts to performance cars that earned cult followings among enthusiasts. Major manufacturers like Toyota, Nissan, and Honda didn't just succeed at home, they also conquered markets abroad, including the United States and parts of Europe. Their secret sauce at the time? Reliability, efficient production techniques, and cars with great fuel economy. This surge was helped along by the 1970s oil crisis. Gas prices soared, and drivers worldwide were desperate for vehicles that wouldn't guzzle fuel. Japanese automakers, who had already perfected manufacturing constraints at home, swooped in with small, economical cars that changed the game, like the Toyota Corolla and the Honda Civic, which rose to become global icons. By the mid-1980s, Japan was hitting peak popularity, topping automotive sales charts, and gaining a reputation for building cars that went the distance on less fuel and fewer repairs. Although Japan's share of the car market remained impressive for a long time, change was brewing. Governments around the world started pushing for cleaner transportation, and consumers began reconsidering what they wanted out of their cars. Meanwhile, new competitors emerged. As The Guardian has noted, China steadily increased its share of the global EV market in the last few years, riding on a wave of government support for cleaner energy and a robust manufacturing ecosystem. By some estimates, China's share of the global EV market has now reached a staggering 70% plus, illustrating just how rapidly it's grown. Against this backdrop, a few Japanese automakers tried to get ahead of the curve. Nissan, for instance, launched the Nissan Leaf in 2010 as one of the world's first mass-market electric cars, earning strong early sales. Despite this head start, Nissan didn't maintain its early lead. Other companies, especially in China, rolled out EVs across a wide range of price points, steadily capturing more of the market. According to reports from MIT Technology Review, China's EV-friendly policies, like subsidies, local supply chain advantages, and consumer incentives, created the perfect environment for domestic manufacturers to thrive. Amid these shifts, Nissan and Honda each faced unique hurdles. Nissan was rocked by the departure of its chairman, Carlos Ghosn, and the company's subsequent cost-cutting measures. Honda, for its part, was grappling with how to transition more aggressively to EVs without sacrificing profitability and its own brand identity. According to multiple sources, including Reuters and Car and Driver, the two companies entered talks about forming a holding company that would unify their research, development, and manufacturing resources. The aim was simple: pool assets to stand a better chance in an era increasingly dominated by electric and hybrid models. This proposed mega deal, valued at around $60 billion, would have been unthinkable a few years ago. After all, Japanese automakers take pride in their individual corporate cultures and long histories of engineering excellence. But these talks signaled the growing urgency. Both Nissan and Honda saw the writing on the wall. They needed to adapt quickly, or risk losing even more ground. However, despite months of negotiations and some optimism, the discussions were called off. Headlines from the Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times noted the abrupt end, leaving each automaker back on its own to figure out a strategy in the rapidly shifting market. So, what makes China's EV scene so formidable that it had iconic Japanese companies scrambling to merge? In short, scale and speed. Chinese EV makers, particularly BYD, have managed to roll out electric models in virtually every price bracket, from budget-friendly city cars to sleek, high-end sedans. This is something that stymied even early EV pioneers like Nissan, whose main offerings fell into narrower categories. BYD initially flew under the radar, but as SEMP reported, it has recently outsold even Tesla on a quarterly basis in terms of electric car sales. Its range of plug-in hybrids, combined with pure battery electric vehicles, gave it a broad net to capture a massive customer base. Meanwhile, Tesla is still formidable worldwide, but BYD's combination of domestic support and manufacturing efficiency let it grow at breakneck speed. Another key point, many Chinese automakers have battery and component production in-house, which helps them control costs, innovate faster, and bring models to market quickly. This vertical integration is a huge advantage in an industry where battery technology is a critical differentiator. Japan is certainly aware of the challenges. Toyota, still the world's largest automaker by volume, has been investing heavily in hybrid technology for years, and it's now turning more attention to fully electric vehicles. There's also intense research on next-gen solid-state batteries, which promise faster charging times, longer range, and potentially lower costs once they reach mass production. According to the Japan Times, government and industry players in Japan are pumping resources into battery tech to catch up to or surpass competitors abroad. Trade.gov reports that Japan's EV market is seeing gradual but steady growth, partly due to new government incentives. However, consumer demand for pure EVs in Japan itself remains relatively modest compared to China or parts of Europe. Some experts speculate this slower domestic uptake has contributed to the hesitation among Japanese automakers to invest more aggressively in battery electric cars. They've often hedged their bets with hybrids, hydrogen fuel cells, and even synthetic fuels, hoping to diversify and not be locked into one single technology. It's not all doom and gloom for Japan. Toyota, Nissan, and Honda have a track record of engineering ingenuity and quality. They're still massive global brands with loyal followings and substantial resources. By pivoting more decisively toward EVs and potentially forging strategic partnerships, whether with each other or with other global companies, they could still carve out a significant share of the market. According to the Financial Times, there's a renewed focus on collaboration. Japanese firms are exploring shared software platforms, battery co-development, and new supply chains. Nissan and Honda might have walked away from a huge merger, but they could find more targeted ways to combine efforts on certain EV models or next-generation battery technology. Japan also has some of the world's strictest emission standards, which can drive innovation at home that later becomes a competitive advantage abroad. For consumers, heightened competition usually results in better products and pricing. More EV options come to the market each year, from budget models to luxury SUVs, giving drivers worldwide a chance to weigh performance, cost, and brand preference. Japan's established reputation for build quality and reliability could be a significant selling point for its upcoming EVs. Meanwhile, Chinese automakers like BYD, along with other emerging brands, aim to show that they can not only match but exceed the engineering prowess of longer-standing manufacturers. At the industry level, these dynamics showcase just how fast the technology around cars is evolving. A company can go from novelty to market leader in a decade. Just look at BYD's trajectory. And legacy firms like Nissan and Honda must either innovate or find partners to remain competitive. According to Reuters, some analysts believe Chinese EV technology might be around 3 to 5 years ahead in certain areas, putting extra pressure on Japan to close that gap quickly. Ultimately, the story of Japan's automakers losing some ground to China's EV juggernaut is far from over. It's a vivid illustration of how the global auto industry can shift under the weight of new technology, consumer preferences, and government policies. Japan once upended the American and European markets with fuel-efficient, high-quality vehicles. Now it faces a similar challenge. Only this time, the emerging force is China, armed with advanced EV tech, aggressive expansion plans, and a government committed to dominating the space. Will Japan's legendary car makers find a way to maintain a strong position? If there's one thing history shows, it's that they're capable of dramatic turnarounds. Toyota remains the world's largest automaker. Honda has a proven record of innovation in engines and electrification, and Nissan was an early EV pioneer, even if it stumbled. With enough investment and perhaps a willingness to shed some traditional approaches, Japan could reinvent itself once more. For now, though, China is in the driver's seat of the global electric vehicle industry, with companies like BYD and others racing ahead. That doesn't mean the race is over. It simply means Japan has to decide whether to refuel, accelerate, or risk getting lapped. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out the links in the description for all the sources we used. If you found this video helpful or learned something new, don't forget to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to stay up to date on the latest in automotive trends, EV innovations, and more. Until next time, drive safe, stay curious, and we'll catch you in the next video.